Welcome to the NFL Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. We are without Mo Nawara today, who is in Vegas making some money, we hope and assume right now. Probably going to be enjoying some MLB playoff stuff as well. But we still have plenty of NFL player props for you this week. Want to make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us as we are bringing you these videos each and every week of this NFL regular season. Also want you to head to TheLines.com. That's where we have our great written content about the NFL all season long for you guys, and our NFL player props as well, and our great odds finder tool, I should say, where you can go ahead and make sure you are shopping those NFL player props and lines to the best of your ability across U.S. sports books this NFL season. We're going to go ahead and get into a passing, rushing, and receiving prop each here. Nate, let's go ahead and kick it off as we want to do with passing props.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Fields is, maybe it seems like you're fishing for something here after he went off against the Patriots. Faces the number one DVOA pass defense in the Cowboys, but that's why it's at 160.5 for his passing props. Originally, I kind of wanted to go passing plus rushing because lately, I mean, he's handled 26 carries in his last two here, and the Bears found success by getting him designed runs. I just don't think that they're necessarily going to want to keep going with that. I mean, the Cowboys did hold Jalen Hurts under his rushing prop, and to tack on 55 rushing yards here for the combined passing and rushing seems a little riskier. But I think it's going to give Fields some more confidence to get him going the way they did, to use him a little bit more in that college mode, sprint right, get him out in the open so he can make easy throws. And it's just dangerous, like we learned with Baker Mayfield a few weeks ago, right, Josh? When you and Mo had that little spat. It's dangerous to project.
Hey, I've Venmoed him. We bet a six pack. I've Venmoed him for the six pack. We're good.
Yeah, the prop was 193 passing yards for Mayfield against what was then the number one pass defense, and he stumbled his way to like 212. Because if you're a 10-point dog like the Bears are in Dallas, like unless you're Arthur Smith and for some reason you decide we just want to run the clock out and get out of here with a loss, then you're going to keep throwing until the end of the game. And Dallas is kind of playing fast. I mean, they're 8th in neutral pace. They're 6th in pace when they're up by 7. And Zeke's hurt. Dak is going to be looking to get his rhythm here, second game back. So I think they'll be throwing enough that this game is a surprising kind of back and forth affair. I wouldn't be surprised if Fields gets to 200 passing yards here. His touchdown is 0.5, and you get terrible odds for him to throw one touchdown. But I also think that's pretty likely. I mean, this is an NFL game here on fast turf. He's going to put up some passing stats.
I mean, I feel like everything you just said leads to the passing and rushing combined. No, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter, right? Because let's say he gets the 60-ish, right? 60 rushing yards. Like he's still got to get the 160 passing yards. So it doesn't seem like it's too worth it to go with both. But it's interesting because the reason that they were so good is they finally designed runs for their mobile quarterback, who's also like a big dude, man. Like it was pretty Daniel Jones-esque in a lot of ways. They're getting a little bit more side to side than Daniel Jones. Maybe it's a little bit more like Jalen Hurts. But at the same time, like the fact that they were getting him running also led to their ability to pass, because as we're seeing with Russell Wilson in Denver, he's not a pocket passer. He can't be. And that's not how Justin Fields is going to be successful either. So it's funny. I like the passing. You might as well take the 160, but it's like also a direct result of their ability to actually run their quarterback, that they're getting the passing yards from him. So I'm going to go actually under for the aforementioned Jalen Hurts and those Eagles, under 226.5 for him. It's kind of the inverse situation. If you think that the Cowboys are going to be leading most of the game against the Bears, which I'm not convinced for some of the reasons that you just said. But if you do think that leads to Justin Fields needing to pass a lot more, that's going to be the inverse here of Jalen Hurts, as we expect them to be handling their in-state rivals and the Pittsburgh Steelers a little bit more easily. In his last 3, he's averaging 199 passing yards is Jalen Hurts. They've won all 3 of those games, as we know. And as we talk about, it's been some short field scenarios for them. I mean, that's what the case was against Dallas, especially getting a bunch of takeaways around midfield just in the first half alone. And that's that's not a fluke. They have the best pass defense and the best defensive secondary in the league for sure. And as that resulted in 2.5 takeaways a game for this team. Kenny Pickett, the young man, is coming in already tossing 7 picks in 3.5 games that he's played in. The Eagles are such big favorites. Miles Sanders is going to come back with a vengeance. The Pittsburgh secondary is a little bit less banged up right now than they have been. Their front seven is not less banged up than it has been. So once again, rushing, less passing for Hurts, and under 227 feels pretty right for a guy who's going to probably have a pretty big lead for most of this game.
Yeah, the Eagles are kind of like a lot of the high school offenses I cover on the professional level here. It's like QB power, extra offensive linemen, just like try and stop us. And then defensively, they just have superior athletes all over. It's going to get even crazier now with Robert Quinn on that defensive line. They just added him. Their corners, Bradbury and Slay, what an incredible combination. So I just don't expect the Steelers to put up enough points to test Hurts. I'm surprised Tua wound up with 270 passing yards against the Steelers last week, because it was a pretty quiet game all around.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see that kind of similar game flow. That's how the Steelers try to win. And I don't think the Eagles are going to really try to sling it all over the yard either. They're, like I said, they're going to lean on their ground game. That's what Hurts said he wants to do. Be the thermostat.
To your point, too. I heard that. Well, Tua doesn't have a run game, so he's got to throw his dink and dunks for 270, right? That's the difference too.
Exactly. I'll kick us off rushing props here with an under. Mo was a week early on this, I think. Dameon Pierce, he tried to take the under against the Raiders. Not as good of a defensive front as the freaking Titans, who started slow in their first 2 games. It was really actually surprising that they weren't good on run defense the way they ended last season. They allowed 52 rushing yards per game at about a 2.5 yards per carry clip in their last 5. And you look at their last 3 here, allowing 49 rushing yards at a 2.6 yards per carry clip. That includes a game against Jonathan Taylor and the Colts last week. So, I mean, the Texans have made no bones that they're going to give the ball to Pierce 20 times a game, at least if they can. But against the stacked front, I mean, his yards per carry, his efficiency is going to drop considerably. The Titans should stack the box here, since it's so obvious what Houston wants to do for their recipe here, and that Davis Mills has been so bad, and but Nico Collins is hurt. The Texans' short-handed receiving core probably not going to threaten you very much. So 71.5 rushing yards for Mr. Pierce, which he's gotten over very consistently here, except in week 1. When he didn't have the lion's share of the workload, but he faced a really good Colts run defense. And I just think this Titans run defense is so legit that I'd be scared taking any running back over against them right now.
Yep. And you look at who the Titans have played as of late too. Teams that are not rushing for as many yards because they're not getting the yards per carry, as you mentioned, less than 3 yards a carry against this D in the last 3. They've also got a really weak secondary on defense, so you can take advantage of that if you do have the passing game, which the Texans do not. But you might as well try it if you're going to try to beat this Titans team who has already established for the last 2 or 3 seasons, like they're going to pound the crap out of the rock and they're going to stop you from doing the same thing as best they can, because they're going to try to slow this game down. So I think it does lend itself to that. And, what I think Mo was going for was the Raiders were going to pull away in that one, which they did a little late because Dameon Pierce already had his rushing prop last week in an over before the Raiders were able to go up by the 18 points that they took the lead at in the third quarter there. So I think that the Titans are a little bit more locked in. They're ready to win this AFC South. And this is a big game for that where they're going to come out and get a lead.
Yeah, so, and adding to that, I think Derrick Henry averages like 125 rushing yards his last 4 against the Texans, so the Titans should be able to build a lead on his shoulders.
You mean that Houston Texans worst run defense in the league?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that they should be fine there for
Sounds
sure.
like a
So
good prop. Yeah.
I'm going to go with a guy, Travis Etienne, on those Jags, who he is now the feature back with James Robinson needing to make getting called up basically by the Jets after Breece Hall goes down, and now with Robinson gone, the doors were really already open, right, for Etienne to he already was dominating. We saw that against the Giants last week where he was just gashing them all over the place and got the the lion's share of all the totes there. Even with Robinson active over the last three, while he did cut into Etienne's carries a bit, he still had 90 rushing yards because he had 8 yards a carry. So we both like the 69.5 rushing yards. We also both really like 18.5 receiving yards for him in a game where I think you're going to see Denver secondary locked down on those Jags receivers. And 18.5 receiving yards. Trevor Lawrence has already shown he's not scared of checking down this year, as he's had to do that a number of times per game. And so, when you're allowing basically 4.5 yards per catch, as Denver is, which is very, very good, it's really difficult to go ahead and assume that the Jags are going to be able to throw on them with really just one wide receiver that you're scared of, and not even really in Christian Kirk at this point. He's been double teamed since his really hot start to the first 4 games of the season, pretty much everywhere he goes in the field, because you're not scared of Evan Ingram or any of the other receivers on this Jags team. So I think it's probably gonna be sloppy, dude. Just like every other Broncos game has been this season, it's gonna be gross looking and sloppy. And the Jags are probably gonna pull out a weird win where they are able to run better than the Broncos are, because their run game is terrible right now.
Got to treat the London fans to another awful brand of NFL football. Yeah, but I'm just terrified of the Broncos corners, particularly Pat Surtain. I put in the article that Zay Jones under 42.5 receiving yards, which is like pretty much his standard. He just gets like 42 scoreless yards every week. But if he gets Surtain, I mean, the Jags would be smart to just like sacrifice him and then put Kirk in the slot and try to get him going a little bit. But the point is, that's why I love the receiving yards here more than anything, because Etienne has the chemistry with Lawrence, his college quarterback, and Lawrence the last 3 games or so has really been checking it down, being more efficient after he struggled for a couple, because I think Doug Peterson's kind of, laid out, this is what you have to do in the NFL. Like, you can't push it down the field all the time. Sometimes you just got to take it. And in this matchup, you got to take the checkdowns to Etienne.
Yep. For sure. Yep.
Yeah. And then receiving props, I mean, I'm going right back to where we found success with our lead here last week. Jalen Waddle, who was at 58.5 receiving yards. He went for 88. It's only 60 higher here, 64.5 in a much, much better matchup at Detroit, the second worst pass defense, according to DVOA or according to yards per reception. And we talked about it last week, just Waddle's target rate's going to go up with Tua under center. He now has 35 targets in 4 Tua starts, averaging 18.5 yards per catch and 108 yards per game. So almost doubling what his prop is here. And most importantly, I mean, it's going to be who gets which corner here. I think he gets Amani Oruwari, who
right.
I get that right. Who
you nailed it.
Is 82nd in terms of target separation allowed among usually 120 or so cornerbacks in the league. So, one of the worst out there. And then Jeff Okudah, the Lions' 5th overall pick a couple of years ago, has been playing really well. 4th? Okay. Yeah. I don't know if he's quick enough to handle Tyreek, but we'll see. I mean, either way, the Dolphins move those guys around and they account for 60% of their targets. So I feel pretty confident. Like you said earlier, I mean, the Dolphins don't have a really reliable running game at all. And Tua's been just slinging it to these 2 guys. He seems to only have eyes for them, especially his former college teammate Waddle.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Jeff Okudah was the 4th pick, actually right before Mr. Tagovailoa, who was the 5th pick for the Dolphins. But at any rate, Honestly, I'm not even scared of Tyreek's numbers. I'm not scared of it. Nobody can guard Tyreek Hill right now if he gets separation. So, but he's helping Jalen Waddle look very, very good this season. Jalen Waddle's a great receiver. He looked good last season. But you want to talk about check downs, like check it down to Waddle. I mean, it's not really a check down if he's running a crossing route, but goddamn, how scary is Jalen Waddle running a crossing route across the field while you have Tyreek Hill flying at a 4.1 speed down the sidelines. So, love this offense when Tua is able to be under center. 64.5 receiving yards did not go up enough for this prop against the Lions, man. Like, God, I'm just so excited for Tyreek Hill to be on my fantasy team and play against the Lions this season. Finishing off the receiving props here, Mr. Robert Tonyan's of fun, as we like to call him. 32.5 receiving yards. Man, it hurts me to talk about the Packers at all. I mean, I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan or a Packers fan. I don't like to watch greatness crumble, and that's what we're watching. However, that also has helped us get a nice little receiving prop of 32.5 yards for a guy who is on a team without any receivers. You trade Devontae Adams. I don't know if you think that he grows on trees, man, but like Devontae Adams is one of the best receivers of the last 8 years, and he's still doing his thing on the Raiders. They don't have anyone close to him right now. Lazard ain't it. That's not going to be a guy that's going to be a possession receiver of any kind, and that's what you look at for Tonyan is like, we just need someone to get possessions, man, outside of our running backs right now. He's 8th in target rate among tight ends because he's on a team that has no wide receivers, and that the other 7 tight ends are also teams like, obviously, Kittle and Kelsey, but plenty of teams that just don't have receivers. And I would argue the Chiefs don't even have that good of a receiving core this year. So in his last 2, he's run 52 routes. He's caught 13 of 17 targets, and he's got 122 yards. The 32.5 just feels like we're all just sitting here going like, well, Aaron Rodgers sucks now, or whatever people want to say. So I don't want any Packers receivers, but it's like, he's still going to get 200 yards passing, even if it is against one of the best defenses in the league, because he's going to be throwing. They're 11.5 point dogs. You told me they started at 4. I did not even see that. No one told me that. I didn't get in a single alert that they were +4 to start, and that's what you could have gotten the Bills at, because this is going to be another shellacking. Like, what have the Packers done at all in recent history to make you think that they can even hang with this team this week? So, A-Rod's going to be throwing from the time that he gets onto the field until the time that he walks off of it, probably like a double point loser in this one.
Yeah. I mean, it all lines up as so obvious that the Bills are going to win by 30 points here, that sports is going to sports and somehow the Packers are going to cover. But that's not what we're betting here. We're betting, that Tonyan is going to be the interior route runner. Like you said, they need somebody who can move the chains. The ridiculous thing about their latest loss, they didn't convert a single third down. 0 for 7 on third down and fourth down, I think. That's just unbelievable from an Aaron Rodgers-led team. Yeah, he's publicly called out his rookie wide receivers now. Randall Cobb is out. He would be his security blanket over the middle. So, yeah, it's just Tonyan. It's just me and you, pal. We start getting the memes ready now, I guess, because that's all they got.
It truly is, man. It's like I said, it's uncomfortable to watch almost, just like the dude who's been at the top. It's also just because of how arrogant he is. And it's like, Aaron, stop. But anyway, that's all we're talking about. We are still happy to take Robert Tonyan and make some money off of him getting 33 receiving yards, as there's not very many people to throw to wearing green and yellow these days for A-Rod. So that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Definitely make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Got plenty to look forward to in this upcoming NFL Sunday. So until we see you next, happy betting.